Hivin and Vibin with Dr. Beebe.
Welcome to Hivin and Vibin with Dr. Bibi. I have with me today Michael Alexander Beas. Michael is a renowned leader in publishing, book marketing, and brand management. Three different areas that I really want to speak about and talk to you about. Then, next is with over 12 years of Fortune 500 experience. Now, this is another interesting bit. Before transitioning into entrepreneurship, he is the founder of Atlas Elite Publishing, the force behind ebook marketing solutions, and CEO of Raver Magazine, a major publication in the dance music industry. Michael has rebranded over 1,000 books into bestsellers and authored 7,000 plus articles, solidifying his authority in book marketing. His expertise in SEO and digital strategy empowers authors and music professionals to navigate the online landscape successfully. Recognized as the top literary consultant in the country, that's a wow. His contributions have earned him membership in CEO Clubs International. I need to know more about this. With degrees in business administration, management, and marketing from Nova Southeastern University, he continues to expand his influence, including his work in prison rehabilitation reform. This is very interesting. And equestrian breeding as the co-founder of Beas Family Farms. Oh my goodness, I have so many topics to learn from you and to of course know more about. So Michael, here we go.
Let's go. I love it. The biggest question is, how do I get any sleep? Little by little, right?
I'm
So,
going to
where
ask
do
you
you want to
this
start?
question
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's
I'm
what
going to
I'm
ask
all
you
about.
this question too. How do you sustain yourself? That will come a little later. Before we first unravel, how did you get into publishing first and foremost?
Well, that's a great question. I started publishing, gosh, about 9, 10 years ago, and I wrote my own book, and I went with what I call a hybrid publisher or a vanity publisher. And it was crazy. I spent all this money, effort, energy, and I didn't realize at the time that I was giving away all my rights, all my royalties as an author, and they weren't really going to help me sell my book anyway. So I had just taken a sabbatical for 3, 4 years, and I wrote the book during that time. And then I was just so upset by it. I was so like taken back by it because everybody was focused on publishing and nobody was focusing on marketing. So I thought, as an entrepreneur, I thought, why not figure out a way to help move books, get people read, build community. And, I did that with a few other books myself, just testing the market. And it started working. And we started helping authors become bestsellers. And that's kind of how the party started. So it's through
And
necessity, I guess.
okay, so but how did brand management come into the picture? Was this part of your Fortune 500 experience or was that different?
No, I've always been into marketing. I ran marketing campaigns and programs for Lucent Technologies, for Avaya Communications. Um, I've always been around marketing gurus like my mother. She's was an amazing marketing guru at AT&T and Lucent Technologies as well. And I was always surrounded around like marketing people. And I realized that a book is no different than, a bottle of wine or, you know, anything that you're trying to sell. You have to promote it and market it, whether it's a restaurant or whether it's a book. And providing those services to authors is something that I feel is needed because there's so many books that are published every year. So that's how it kind of all started filtering in. And when I say marketing, I say, book awards, I say bestseller status, I say, get verified reviews. There's so many things that go into a build a customer website for your book so people could go buy it. All those things weren't really being addressed, or they were being addressed in a million different parts. So like one company would do the websites, another company would find you reviews, another company would get you, you know, uh, A plus content, but not one company was like doing it all together, right? So I thought, from experience of doing it for my own book, how can I merge it all together and do it cost effectively so that, people could buy it and use it and brand themselves for something bigger
Right.
and better.
I totally agree with you that everything needs to be sold and there has to be a marketing strategy behind everything. I mean, you can sell ice to an Eskimo if you want, but you have to be a good seller to do that.
Exactly.
So let's
Exactly.
talk
And,
about Raver magazine now. How did this come about?
oh, great question. Now we're really getting into the meat and potatoes. Raver Magazine. I started Raver Magazine probably going on 12, 13 years now. I've always loved music. I attended a music festival in Miami with some friends, and it was called Ultra Music Festival. And I was sitting there and I was watching thousands and thousands of people go to this festival, right? And I said to myself, in 1 year's time, I am going to be on that stage with whatever producer or musicians there. That's my goal. I'm going to do that in 1 year's time. And I thought, what is it that I love to do apart from music? And I was writing. So I was like, oh, let me figure out a way to write about the festival and write about the musicians and write about the experience and the vibe and the energy, right? Because I saw that electronic dance music was so different than any other genre of music. It wasn't about fighting or, it's all about not even the lyrics. It's really just about the sound and the vibe and the energy of the music, right? People are there just for that love. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to be able to write about it? And I was at a Panera Bread with my cousin, true story, and we were thinking, because I'm really into, so electronic dance music is like a big umbrella, and then there's genres underneath that umbrella, right? And trance music is one of the the genres underneath that umbrella. So originally it was going to be called Trance Daily Magazine, and I changed it to be called Raver Magazine because that's what they call the folks that attend the raves or the events or the festivals. And my grandfather was a famous musician. My whole family's been into music my entire life, except me. You don't want me to play an instrument, but I'm horrible at it. Um, but he played the guitar for 45 years of his life. He was on the radio for 35 years of his life. There's even a statue in Miami with him because he wrote a very famous Cuban song. So I wanted to keep in line, honor the tradition, honor the music, honor the people, and just be part of that element, right? And that's how it came about. And then now it's one of the top music magazines in the world. We go to festivals everywhere. We're covering Amsterdam Music Event. We just covered a festival about 3 weeks ago with my son for the first time and my wife, which is pretty awesome. And then hopefully, he's also into music, and who knows, maybe you could take it from there.
Lovely. I can hear a lot of things about legacy and how you're building your legacy and actually carrying your legacy through. We'll come to that a little later, but first, I would like to understand how did you get recognized as a top literary consultant in the country?
That was great, and you have all the good questions today. Well, it was from the International Association of Top Professionals, the IOATP for short. If you like, if you love acronyms, and I was nominated. You have to be nominated by another member for that honor, right? And one of my mentors, his name was Steve Mariotti, and he had won for being the top entrepreneur of the year in the country, right? And then he nominated me because I helped promote his book at the time. This was a long time ago. And I made him a bestseller. I got him a ton of press, and ultimately, he became my business partner. And he taught me so much. He actually founded the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship in the country. He helped over 1 million children graduate and become entrepreneurs. And it was through him that I got nominated, and there was a bunch of other people. And Stephanie, the owner, she just thought I deserved the title. So I don't know what their internal processes are, but I do know. I think it was a mixture between the book promotion, the book publishing, and really a literary consultant is just somebody who advises people on their book, right? Which I inadvertently didn't realize how many times I was doing that in a day, right? So um, that's kind of how it all came about. and then they actually not only did you win the award and went to the event, but you also got that. It was cool. They put me on the NASDAQ board. It was kind of a big honor. And here I am, still advising on books or music.
So I actually have a very, very renowned person with me today as my guest. That's an honor for me to have you here too.
Oh,
But
you're
now,
flattering me too much.
so let's move on now to asking you about how did all this begin? Let's start with when you were a child. What were you like, and did you really know that you would be this today?
No, I never thought I would be doing this today. I always knew I was going to have my own business. Um, and that's something I always wanted to do. But I'm a big believer that you can't do a hustle halfway. In other words, you either have to do it or you don't. And I think when you're young, you have a lot of opportunities to do those things where you could try things and fail. Um, and believe it or not, Atlas, well, before it was Atlas, it was ebook marketing solutions. It was actually before that, it was MB Imaginum, which I started with my mother. And then that was short lived for a lot of reasons. And then it turned into ebook marketing, which turned into Atlas. Um, but this is actually my 17th company. So I failed 14 times prior to this, right? But the trick is to just keep trying and keep going and just keep having, I guess the biggest thing is having passion for what you do, right? And I always love books and I'm a big believer that when you're long gone and you're dead, what will always stay behind is a book. Even if only 5 people read it and those 5 people are your family, at least you left something behind. And I've lost a lot of people in my life, and it's always those who have books have always inspired me to have like a bigger purpose in my own life. So that's where that book came about, and that's where things come about. And you always have to push forward. But 14 times before things started actually working out, I did everything you could humanly possibly think of for a business. But
I
here
could
I am.
I could hear that when you said that you were sitting and watching that concert, and the first thing that you were thinking of that here there are so many people, and in a year's time I want to be there. You are always looking for opportunities. That is what I hear very loud and clear.
100%. Because they're not, I believe that opportunities come to you. It's just you have to have the courage to seize those opportunities and try. And most people will think of an idea, but they won't actually do it because they're afraid of failure, right? But it's better to try it and fail it than to look back and be like, I wish I could have done that. Or imagine if I would have started that restaurant or opened that business or whatever. Do it or don't, right? And that's kind of my motto. Sometimes you shouldn't, but I'm
Let's
not
talk
saying
about
like
those
be stupid and
failures
don't think
now.
about it. I'm just saying like, you know,
So let's
it's
start with
better to live without regret. Put it that way. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
good, but we will talk about those regrets and we will talk about those failures. So we will talk about your first failure and when was it? What age were you?
My first failure was at 15, 16, 15, 15 or 16. I started my first business. It was called Fruit Sensations, A Twist of Life. And it was a smoothie stand that I ended up, I raised money from this doctor, and me and my best friend, we started the smoothie stand at my school, my high school. And it failed because the cafeteria was very upset that nobody was buying food. They were buying my smoothies, and they sabotaged us. And anyway, that's a long story, but that was the
Hmm.
first time.
And the second
It was
time?
the second time. Holy smokes! The second time was a car detailing business that I thought would be great, except this one guy, he got upset because there was a scratch on the car and he swore I did it instead of he did it. And that was short lived. That only took like 6 months, but it was fun. I learned. Clean the heck out of a car though. But, well, I go on and
Okay.
on. It's nuts.
So we'll jump to your equestrian breeding, where you are a co-founder of a Beas family farms. How
Right.
did that come about? I can understand the music bit, I can understand the marketing bit, because that comes from one comes from your grandfather, the other comes from your mother. But how did the equestrian breeding come about?
The equestrian breeding came about because of my lovely wife, Christine Kennedy, who is an equestrian rider. She's an amazing, amazing, amazing equestrian rider. And I always loved horses. My dad was a big horse guy. He loved horses. He would probably, he's passed away. He would probably lose his mind if he knew I had so many horses, in a good way, in a good way. But no, Christine, she rides really, really well. She studied in Europe a little bit after college. She rode for college, and you know, was amazing. And she told me about this one horse, and I bought the horse with another person, and it turned into this amazing adventure of things that don't work out. But it did teach me that I loved it a lot, and I should do it on my own, and I should do it as a business. And together, her and I have built like this horse empire. But we did it through the help of a lot of people. A lot of people have helped me. I know in life, the number one lesson I always tell myself or try to teach my kids is I know enough to know that I don't know enough. And I'm not afraid to ask questions and learn because, like you said earlier, like you have successes, you have failures, you have this, you have that. And while I say I'd rather do it and fail, but I always, if I fail, which I did the first time with a horse, I learned a lot from that, and then I learned like what's important, what bloodlines are great, and I'm nerdy that way, and I'm sure I'll still fail again, but like for the most part, the wins are more than the losses these days, right? But regardless of the money and the things, it's something that I have a lot of passion for, and when you're next to a horse that close, it does something to you, especially when you deal with like PTSD and you have different things in your life that have gone on that you need like that help from and support from, and that's what horses do. They inspire change, but it also is kind of cool to do it with my wife and gives us something to talk about other than life.
So, I
That's how I
have
got
been
into it.
reading articles on horses visiting hospitals, and
Yes.
they actually become part of the therapy. And
Yeah.
how does that happen? I mean, how do horses show empathy, or how do they show compassion? Horses are absolutely foreign animal for me. I mean, I have seen them in pictures and TVs, but nothing beyond that. So you can tell me a lot more here.
Well, the easiest way that I could explain it is that, and I don't know, maybe there's some divine intervention, but horses, I feel, were put on this earth to help humans. Okay. And think of Avatar and the connection of them getting on the big dragon and having that energy, right? When they're riding the dragons through the lands and stuff. I feel that horses um, were put on this earth for that, right? So like, and again, I'm not an equestrian rider, or I don't, I ride horses, but I don't, do it like my wife does it. Um, and she says something, and other people have said the same comment, and maybe I could relate to it this way, where when you want to jump a fence or turn right or left, you don't have to really think about, you don't have to like pull the horse to do it. You just think it. You think I want to go left and the horse goes left. You think I want to go right, it goes right. If you go forward, it goes forward. So I feel like that connection, especially like when I go see my horses and I touch them on the face, or I clean them, or I fix their feet or whatever. It's just an energy that they project where they'll see you and like almost like a dog, or like it's crazy, like they just come up to you, but it's that moment in time where you could just disconnect from the world and the stresses of it, right? um and if I was as good of a writer as she is, like she tells me, it's like, oh, I don't even have to think to turn. I'm on the horse, just think it in your head and it does it. And that to me tells me like there is that a bigger connection between human and the animal together, right? And that's what I think is pretty amazing.
So that's a
Hopefully that answers your
tuning.
question. I don't know.
No, that's a tuning. What I'm getting is that there is a kind of a tuning between the horse and the human, especially the human who is working with that particular horse, or so there must be
Yeah.
some kind of a very strong relationship
It's
there.
that bond, right?
Yeah,
um
there's a bond.
it's just a really, for me, it's just it was good in the sense that I would go to the farm, I would help out, the horse would see me and come up to me, and it's just a cool thing. It's a cool vibe, and I'm sure it's different for everybody, but there's definitely something bigger than us there.
Do you have a favorite one?
Yes, I do actually. His name, well, I have a lot of favorite ones. They would all get upset if I gave one over the other. No,
They all
but
know.
I
It's
have a
okay.
great mare. Her name is Gin Orange, and she is amazing. She is absolutely amazing. She's remarkable. But they all are. They're all, and we all give them like barn. They have like their show name, but then they have like their barn name, right? So I have one called Sander and Niels. Niels is amazing. He's in Ireland. Um, but yeah, great question. They would all hate
Lovely.
me if I said this. They're gonna look at this interview one day and be like, ah, that was your favorite.
Will they really be able to pick up their names when if they
Oh
if
yeah,
they
yeah. You
ever
call
hear
them, they
the
know.
interview?
Hmm.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, they will. They will. It'll be fun.
Oh,
It'll be fun. Well, we won't show it because there's too many. I'm 28, so you don't want to show it
so,
too much.
so have you ever given birth? Helped a horse give birth to a foal?
No, but I've seen it. It's definitely an experience.
Mm,
I get
I've
scared
heard
because
so.
it's very it's an experience. But they're big animals, right? It's not a puppy, so it's like I have a lot of mutual respect for the animal, right? And of course, my wife is fearless. She'll go in and do it like it's not a problem. But for me, I'm like, I'm okay. Let me know when that's good. Well, I'll be good. Just send me the bill.
Mm,
We'll be
I
fine.
get that. Uh,
Um,
I had
yeah.
the fortune of touching an elephant and
Oh
being
wow.
near an elephant. So
Mhm.
it's so calming. I mean, despite that huge, magnificent
Yeah,
size,
yeah, yeah.
it's so calm. So when I touched it, it was and they have little hair on their trunk and in the entire body. They're little hair, it comes up like little antenna. And when you touch it, it's so amazing. It's so calm. It's so gentle. It's amazing. So I can
Right?
understand when you're
You see the
saying, when the
connection
horse
between
comes up to
animal and
you.
human, right?
Yeah.
It's
And it can be instantaneous sometimes, I think. It just
yeah, yeah.
happens.
It's
Okay,
it's
so
just
from
a
here,
beautiful
what
thing.
I'm
By the way,
getting is
yes.
Michael is a person who is an entrepreneur, who has a very curious mind, and who is very innovative about how he approaches stuff, but he's a solution maker. He always gets a solution. This is what I'm getting. So this is my, what is coming to me in my head when I'm, look and hearing you now. So, but doing all this, how did the prison rehabilitation reform come about?
Well, that's a great story. It's just something that you think about and you look at, how many inmates that have nonviolent crimes go back to jail after they've been incarcerated. Because if you think about it, if you've been in jail, um, at least here in America, on every job application, they ask you if you've been committed of a crime. Even if you wanted to work at McDonald's, yes. Okay, sorry, thank you. We'll try somebody else. Right. If you
And
want to get
same
an
here.
apartment, yeah. If you want to get an apartment, sorry. First question they ask you: have you been committed of a crime? If you want to do a blue collar job, right? I want to do air conditioning. I want to do welding. I want to do work at a factory. Work. Have you been committed of a crime? Yes. Sorry, that can't help you. So what do people do? They start stealing. They start going back to what they used to do because they're homeless and they're hungry, right? And they don't want to. It's a horrible thing. I think the percentage in America anyway is that 83% of all inmates that go out, they go back within the first year. 83% because they don't have a support system, or it's just crazy. And when you talk to inmates, that those say, "How have you been here five times? Like 5 times, aren't you? This isn't the Hilton, right? Like this is not where you want to be." And they'll tell you it's like, "Oh, well, my circumstances, the way I grew up, my mother, my father, they were selling drugs or doing whatever it is that they were doing. When you go out and you can't find a home and you don't have a degree and you don't like how you're gonna go back because you're cold, you're hungry, and it's very sad. And like I said, my mentor Steve Mariotti, he did a lot of prison reform and he talked to me about it. So it's just about figuring out ways to have more awareness of it because it's always like that stigmata. Everybody just labels you as you're just this horrible human being who doesn't deserve a second chance, right? And you know what? Some people don't. Some people have done horrible, horrible murders and you know a lot of bad things, right? There's some people who just made a mistake too. So you can't, all I'm trying to say is you can't put everybody in the same bucket, right? Because everybody's different. And, you know, it's really understanding the character of the person, but also figuring out ways as a society to have more opportunities for people to change their life for the better. And I guarantee you that most people, if they're given the opportunity, will change because it's almost like a spiritual journey that they go on when you don't have anybody else to talk to and when you're stuck in a situation or a system that's really broken, right? And it's easy to blame the system, but I think we as people need to also have an open mind and try to say, wow, like, okay, this person made a mistake, but now they're trying to change things. And like I said, it always starts with us first, right?
So how did you,
Hope that
so
helps.
I I understand that's how you started with your mentor. You started working in this is what is what I'm getting.
Yeah,
You were
his name was
influenced to
Steve
start.
Mariotti. Yeah, he was
Mhm.
pretty. He studied under Ayn Rand and Hayek directly, which was pretty crazy. But a lot of the people that he helped, so his nonprofit, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, he took underprivileged children and he helped them become entrepreneurs, right? So mom and dad sold drugs, right? You grew up in that. You didn't go to school for anything. You still have to go to school because you're a child. And then, but you all you've ever seen in life is that, right? But he discovered that most people that grow up in that lifestyle are natural born entrepreneurs or business people because they always have that defense, but they're always trying to make money. But instead of using
Survive.
that bad, right? Let's use that for good. Like, you know, the person who paints nails on the side, right? The girl who loves to just, she loves painting nails. Why not have a bank account? Why not start a business? Why not? Because if the society says you're not good enough, so he would help these kids put together a business plan and have an idea and start a website and, you know, do something different. And, to say a million people benefited from that is really a miracle. There's still 19 to 22 schools that in the world that do this every year. It's a big thing. Um, and that's what he taught me. It was like, like you told me when we do books promotions, he's like, we could promote books for good, or we could promote bad books that say bad things. So anyway, hope that helps.
Yep. Yep. And what exactly do you do for them? I mean, what is your role in it?
In Atlas or in general or for prison reform in general?
In the prison rehabilitation reform.
Right now, I work with a Greek Orthodox priest, right? And the biggest thing is books because it's really hard. I live in the Carolinas, so it's really hard to do a lot of things. But the main thing that we do is I love books, so finding homes for books in the prison system is big because you need to distract the mind, right? And also educate people, right? Like there's a lot of people, especially because I'm Hispanic, I'm Cuban by nature, so I speak Spanish. There's a lot of Mexican people who need help, who can't afford lawyers, who just they're here legally, they can't even read the papers that they're signing, right? So just providing some of those services helps, and it's not like on a big mass scale as I wish I could be. Because there's always that, right? Like you could always do more. We could always do more, right? And that's more of a guilt thing that you put on each other. But like I said, even if you helped a few people or just donated or dedicated like an hour of a month, right? Just to help someone, um, you really could be helping a life. So,
Yeah, I know of someone who used to uh, teach basketball to
mhm.
prison inmates, and they had a program, and they used to run this basketball thing. So he was their coach, and he would, make
Mhm.
them play, as you said, keep their minds involved in something productive. I've also heard of policies where I don't remember which country, but if you're reading books, if you have read an X
Mhm.
number of books, your sentence decreases, I believe.
Yeah,
It was
that's cool.
that kind of a thing. I think it's
Well, it
amazing to
shows
have
that you
something.
want to better your life, or even
Mm,
even like take courses. I mean, I know there's courses there, but like if you have a book on how to fix air conditioners, I don't know, making it up, right? So it's not just the books, but it's also like the type of books, right? And it just, I always say you have the most time on your hands ever when you're there. So it's one of those things where you just have to keep pushing forward and at least try to do something different to occupy the mind because everything starts here, right?
One thing that I am also hearing from you is that your family played a very big role in your
Hmm.
life. Your like you mentioned your grandfather, you mentioned your mother, you mentioned your father, you mentioned, so
Very blessed. My wife,
yeah, you
all the things.
mentioned your wife, you also mentioned your children.
Yeah.
So, what is the greatest learning that you got from your family? Let's start with your family that you were born in and then the family that you made.
The family that I was born in has always been very business savvy and entrepreneurial, right? Because I think that stems from Cuba, and I think because I was the first person born in America, but my entire family was from Cuba, and then they were from Spain. So coming from a communist country um, with no money, can't speak the language, you literally left with nothing, nothing. Um, and to make a life, right, showed me that um, sometimes things could be hard, but you just have to keep pushing forward, right? And if the sky throws you, lemons, you better learn how to make lemonade. So that's from my family. From my, but then even if I dig deeper, like my mother was an executive at Wells Fargo. Um, she built the entire training program for that. Before that, she was the first female executive salesperson at AT&T back in the early 80s. She was There was two women selling for AT&T, and my mother was one of the two because they said that women didn't know how to sell because they were women. So growing up with that and experiencing her, just seeing her push forward when everybody said she couldn't do it, um, I believe made me a stronger person. My dad, he worked for the Miami Herald, the newspaper. He was an architectural engineer. Also came from Cuba, nothing, right? They actually met here. But um, he was very numbers orientated and very like, um, he thought through things 4 or 5 steps ahead always, right? And that taught me to like, hey, okay, well, if we're going to promote this book or we're going to go to this festival, we're like, almost to my demise because I think too much about things instead of like just do it.
Mm, mm, mm.
So the mix between the two, I think, I don't know, turned me into me.
And what did the family that you made, that you have made now, has taught you?
Well, so many things. So I have 4 children. I adopted a little girl when she was 8, and now she runs my company. So that's great. Um, Her name is Chamarelli. She's the most extroverted person that I've ever met. Um, Fearless, goes out, does it, right? And I don't know. Hopefully, I contributed a little bit to that. And then my 2 sons, Michael and Alex, they're 14. They're great. They each have their own vibe, their own elements. I could see a little bit of myself in each of them, right? And then I just have a newborn baby named Landon, who is also just kind of like, you could tell he's going to be an extrovert. So, but, um, you know, uh, it's just, I feel like what I've learned is having a good partner. So my wife is a great partner. She always supports me, backs me, and that allows me to, like, I take a lot of risks because she's got a great job working for an insurance company and she's got a salary where I'm able to take more risks than most people don't have the opportunity because of that, right? So if we fail, I'll still have a house over my over my head, right? Um, but it's also not just about money. It's about saying, you know what, stop complaining, get up and do it, right? So she's never gonna let me have a little pity party and be upset or whatever. She's like, all right, let's go. We gotta go. And yeah, I mean, I think that for me is important, especially for my kids to see, right? Um, so it's just having a good partner and just pushing forward. I mean, that's the best thing. And sometimes when I think, maybe I shouldn't, she'll be like, no, you should. It's when you think you shouldn't, that's exactly when you should. And I think every entrepreneur needs that.
Right. I can now understand the source of your strength and your energy. But what I want to know now is, what do you do when you fail? What is it that you tell yourself? What is it that you do immediately, that you do?
When I fail, I cry. I don't know. I mean, I don't like to fail. I always feel that failure is just an opportunity to do it better. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like you could look at anything two ways, right? You could look at it in a lower way, you could look at it in a higher way, and I feel like failure is just a learning lesson. So yeah, everybody's going to fail, right? The question is whether or not you live in the failure. You could be part of the failure, you could be part of the solution, right? And or be part of the problem, be part of the solution. I always like to be part of the solution, you know, because everything has a solution. Nobody's gonna die. I mean, yeah, some things are critical and everything else, but like just know that you could push forward even when you fail. And in fact, the best businesses to start are the ones that everybody says that you're not going to do it, that you're going to fail, it's not going to work out, you should think twice about it. That's when you should do it because everybody else is thinking the same thing, right? So if you could think of a way to have a solution to bridge that gap, you'll be rich, you'll be on another level.
Right. Um, you wear a lot of hats, and you are absolutely stretched. If I'm, this is an understatement when I'm saying that you're stretched for time. So how do you manage and sustain your own energy?
How do I sustain my own energy? I think it's about having a good team, you know? I think that, I have an amazing team. And it starts, like I said, with my daughter. She's 30 and she 29, 30. She's just like, I know that if there's and granted, I taught her a lot of things, but if I go to her and say, I need help with this, or if I go to my vice president, Dar, and say, listen, I need this, or if I go to my wife, who also helps me out, everybody's like a whole family, and like it's a whole family thing, right? I just feel like it's all about the team you have. Um, even my assistant, will say, Mike, you got this. Mike, you got that. Mike, do this. Mike, because if you don't have that, like it's just you're running around like with your head cut off. But I think having a plan and just knowing like, hey, it's gonna be okay. You know, let's just take a deep breath. Right, breathing is good. Um, it just always works out in the end. But it all stems from the team that you have and having trust in that team. So it's not like, hey, I have this big team, but I have to micromanage everybody. It feels that way sometimes. But you just have to allow people to figure it out themselves. But the biggest thing is having everybody always be part of the solution. Like, don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution, right? Or an idea for a solution, or, you know, that type of thing. Because it creates that energy and that vibe within your organization.
My first conversation with your company was with your daughter, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yes, it
I think
was.
so. I think it was, yes, because the name rings a bell. That I think I spoke with her,
She's
yes. Yeah.
she knows more than I do. Put it that way. And
But
she
I think
reminds
she
me all
did
the
a
time.
but I think when she had her conversation, I could understand that, that she's learning the ropes, but she
Hmm.
was she was very smooth in the way she spoke through, and the way she conducted the meeting with me. I was like, okay, I find that there's a person shaping here who is going to do well. So, yes, that's a compliment which you can please pass on to her.
I definitely will.
And in the meantime, uh, tell me about the time when your contribution earned you your membership with CEO Clubs International. What is this organization about, and what is the uniqueness in being a member in this organization?
All right, you're bringing back ages. So the CEO and CEOs International is run by a gentleman named Joe Mancuso out of New York, and he was connected to me because he had a book. So all these things are because they all stem from like books that I published for other people, right? And I did his book. I published his book. We promoted his book. We made his book a bestseller. And then he started asking me like more in-depth questions of us and the company and the revenues and this. And you have to generate at least $500,000 or more in revenue a year. And I was young, and we were doing that because we figured out a way to help make books bestsellers and publish books, but also get people press. It's the whole branding. It's not just about a book. It's like, how do you basically build the brand of you, right? Through a book. And again, I'm talking nonfiction books, not fiction books, but it's a whole other animal. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And he nominated me as the youngest person member there. And I was like honored and great and gave him a big bear hug, and we call it a day.
All right. Okay. So I can see that through your daughter, at least for the time being now, your legacy will be carried forward. So what is your latest project? What is it that you are now concentrating on?
What am I now concentrating on? That is a great question. I've said that a lot this evening. But right now, honestly, what I want to do is save some trees. That's what we want to do. We want to save some trees. And the only way to do that is, there's millions of books that are destroyed every year. And it's fascinating to me how many libraries need help and how many trees we could save. And yeah, we're trying to go to audiobooks and ebooks and this and that and the other, whatever. But at the same time, there are millions of books that are just going to get trashed and thrown away. So one of the divisions or one of the companies that we own is called The Book Review, Revue, spelled a little different. And that's where we write editorial reviews on books, sorry. And we sell books and through there. And we also build communities. So like if you like children's books, we have kids communities. If you like business books, we have WeWork spaces, flex spaces, all those things. If you there's a community or a reader for every book, right? So part of the initiative that we want to do is take like old used books that were going to get thrown away. I'm going to buy them with a percentage of the money that we make from the book review. And I'm going to find new homes for them through the communities that we've built. So it's crazy. They sell these books for 50 cents to $1 and nobody will buy them. But I could buy them, take the dollar sticker off, and put it at a restaurant, and somebody will take the book because it says free, which is mind-blowing to me. Literally, sometimes across the street from the library that we're about to trash the books. So they won't go to the library, but they'll be waiting for a table, and there'll be a sign that says, take a free book, and I'll take a book. And therefore, I'll find a new home for it. So that's a
That's
new project that we're working on.
Oh, this is amazing because I am one of those people who love books as in books, not
Yeah,
audiobooks, not
correct.
ebooks, because I
Yeah,
like
like
the
an actual
smell of the
physical
pages.
book.
When
Yeah,
you open a book, there's a
yeah,
smell that comes out. That's
yeah.
amazing. I just love that. So for me, that smell is very important. That I don't
Especially
think
when
it's a
we're on a plane. I'm old school like that too. Like I like having a physical book in my hand. So we could save
and
those books. But it's like finding new homes for books. So that's kind of, and it started like 3, 4 weeks ago. So we're gonna do like a TikTok. We're gonna tell people, listen, when you're done with your book, don't throw it away. Send it to us. We're gonna find a new home for it because we've built hundreds of communities everywhere, right? And of course, now I have to figure out how to fund the project and all of that. And I don't want to do like a 501c3, a nonprofit. Like I kind of just want to, I don't know. It's going to evolve into something great. I feel it because
Mm.
they're doing something good. So that's kind of what I'm kind of at. So you heard it here. If you have a book, don't throw it away. Send it to us. We'll find a new home for it.
Oh, lovely. I love that. And I'm happy that you were able to use this show here to, spread the word. How would you like my audience and my listeners to connect with you?
Well, that's a great question. They could go to LinkedIn, that's number one, or go to my Instagram, that's the easiest, which is Beas Michael on Instagram, or shoot us a note at the book review, revue.com. And
Perfect.
somebody will message you back. Hopefully, it's me if you DM me. And if not me, then somebody on my team uh, from my family, more than likely, will message you back.
Lovely. I just loved our conversation today, and we had so much information, so much knowledge, and so much insights that you have given us. This is amazing, Michael. I am sure my audience is going to benefit a lot from this. I just look forward to them listening to you and, gaining some more, energy from you. I think your energy is amazing. So thank you so
Likewise.
much for being a part of Hivin and Vibin with Dr. BB.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Hay. It was a pleasure, okay? And bye to everyone.
Lovely. Thank you.